Hey folks! So today's video, I wanted to kind of stay in this series of videos that I've been making about discontinued brands, but today I wanted to talk specifically about brands that have filed for bankruptcy and kind of what happened after the fact, because BH Cosmetics actually filed for bankruptcy at the end of last month, and we have yet to see what is going to be the impact of that. Are they going to close down? Are they going to sell? I believe they're on the market now, and obviously we saw Becca recently file for bankruptcy. Back in the day, OCC Cosmetics filed for bankruptcy, and then they never just opened back up again. And there's been plenty of brands and companies over the years that have filed for bankruptcy and have kind of just like cut their losses. But the ones today are a little more interesting besides BH Cosmetics because they're still around, but in very different ways than the way they used to be. I don't want to go into like too many details about this one because there've been a ton of videos about this one, and I'll actually link several of them below, like standalone videos about the BH Cosmetics announcement about them filing for bankruptcy, because literally it happened like 3 weeks ago. So BH filed for Chapter 11 on January 14th, and sources have been saying that it is kind of due to a lot of factors. I think the main factor being the pandemic, obviously. One of the biggest things that have definitely affected makeup sales over the last 2 years has been like mask mandates, because I know I'm not wearing makeup to work and I'm not really wearing makeup if I'm going out, at least not as much. And so you have a lot less makeup being sold because people don't feel like they need it as much. So BH was one of the casualties of the market changing. And the other thing with BH Cosmetics is that for the longest time, they were releasing really cool and innovative products at really low prices. And now with so many more competitors at that similar price range, they're not nearly as like niche or as special as they used to be. I would say companies like ColourPop and Morphe have kind of taken the place of BH in the market because it's not holding up with the trends as much. Every product I've tried from them, the quality has been good, but just as far as like keeping up with things, they haven't been as hip with the trends. And their recent collaborations with Doja Cat and Iggy Azalea, I think, are the best examples. Is that there was such an opportunity to make this Doja Cat collab really, really cool. Like every single article that I was looking up had mentioned that BH had done collabs with Iggy Azalea and Doja Cat, and basically saying, well, even with that, it couldn't help them. And they sold the assets. It has not been officially like shut down, like it's still around. This is one of the situations where a different company could buy them out, could kind of take them under their wing as like a sub-brand, kind of like how MAC is a sub-brand of like Estee Lauder or something, but on a much smaller scale. Definitely on a much smaller scale. Again, it's one of those things where it's like that brand, the only thing that it didn't have was like shelves. Realistically, it was inside Ulta, and I know I had seen BH Cosmetics at the, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like Forever 21's beauty store or whatever. They had it at the mall I used to work at, and then that actually filed for bankruptcy when Forever 21 did. It's cyclical. BH Cosmetics, I feel like the only reason that they don't do better than some of these drugstore brands is the fact that it isn't in drugstores, because it has good products, they're good prices, and I wish that it didn't have to be that way. But you know what, we will see. We will see what the outcome of this filing will be. Like I said, there's been plenty of brands that have stuck around even after filing for bankruptcy, because it's not necessarily like the nail in the coffin. It's just, I don't know, the first kick, I guess, the first push in the direction of, oh, well, it was fun while it lasted, you know? They didn't take advantage of those collaborations that the same way a lot of these other kind of mid-priced, lower-priced, trendy brands are doing. Like ColourPop is on top of collabs all the time, most of the time it being intellectual properties. Morphe is collabing with intellectual properties and with individuals, like influencers, all the time. And BH doesn't really do that as much, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I feel like when a brand does too many collabs, they lose their own identity, and it gets really repetitive and really kind of like obvious that they're just using the audience and the clout of the people and the companies that they're collaborating with in lieu of actually making creative, cool products. So BH, I hardly knew ye. We will see though. We will see what happens. I have no idea. We do not know what will happen, and apparently according to the filings, the bankruptcy filings, BH is $23.5 million in debt and owes a further $15 million in unpaid rent and other expenses. Holy shit. They've only been around for 13 years though, since 2009. I didn't know that. I did not know that it had only been around since 2009, but the chief restructuring officer, Spencer Ware, stated the company struggled to obtain profitability after pursuing an ultimately unsuccessful launch of various product lines. Yeah, well, y'all didn't do the right things with the product lines, okay? The amount of times that I've given BH grief about like themes and not keeping things on theme, like the Zodiac thing could have been so cool. Like their regular Zodiac palettes, the big ones, they're great, but the smaller ones that were like based on each Zodiac, and kind of boring. Yeah, we shall see. We shall see what happens. But with that much debt, that's a lot of debt. That's a lot of debt, BH. Next, this was interesting because I was reading this article and they were talking about how bigger companies and bigger like department stores like JCPenney and Neiman Marcus have used filing for bankruptcy as a way to kind of stay afloat during the pandemic. Though I am surprised that JCPenney still is around at this point, because if you've ever been inside a mall, literally when is JCPenney ever that crowded? Sears is worse, but I will say neither one of those stores are that well traveled in any malls that I go to or have been to in the last decade. But also in this article, they talked about kind of big brand conglomerate Glansale. I think that's how it's pronounced. I think it's Irish. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably wrong on this because I believe it's something that's like Celtic or anyway, so Glansale filed for Chapter 11 in 2018, and they owned two beauty brands that was actually inside Ulta and that I had tried before, Laura Geller and Julep Beauty. Actually, fun fact, my old roommate used to work for Julep way back in the day because Julep is a Seattle-based brand. But since Glansale filed for bankruptcy, a company called AS Beauty bought Julep and Laura Geller and completely restructured and changed how things happened, because with the parent company filing for bankruptcy, they had to completely restructure the way that Julep and Laura Geller worked. They took them out of Ulta stores because they were not making any money. I know whenever I would go into Ulta, Julep's counter, Julep's little section was very poorly maintained. It was not really full a lot. Laura Geller's was also very sad and kind of poorly maintained. They did not keep up with really much any sort of trends. And I think both of those brands were not in the right place with Ulta, which is what actually ended up happening. Julep was kind of in the throes of a lot of issues like company-wise because they were getting awful reviews on Better Business Bureau and they had to downsize employees. Though COVID-19 was obviously not accounted for when AS Beauty bought Laura Geller and Julep, they spent much of 2019 cost-cutting and right-sizing the businesses. The AS Beauty team went from 180 people to 35. They pulled Julep out of Ulta and they, I believe, also pulled Laura Geller out of Ulta, and Julep switched to Target. So now you will find Julep products inside Target, and Laura Geller is almost exclusively all on QVC, which I think is good because Laura Geller products, they tend to be marketed towards, tend to be more connect or older customers tend to gravitate towards them, which QVC caters to. The only time I ever watched QVC in my life was when I was at my grandparents' house one day, and that's what they had on in the morning. So that shows you what QVC's demographic is. Boomers, which is fine, but that goes to show that Laura Geller was like not the right fit for Ulta. Ulta and QVC do not have the same customer base generally, so obviously moving Laura Geller out of Ulta and moving Julep out of Ulta was a good plan. And another thing about Julep too, they completely stopped their Julep Maven service, which was like their monthly kind of subscription thing. And I think, again, that was kind of due to the Better Business Bureau issues with customer service and like internal company stuff. Got kind of messy. Yeah, on this article, Laura Geller resonates extremely well on TV, and I think she is in a unique spot. With millennial brands, you have the Kardashians who are targeting 18 to 35s, 5-year-olds, and then Urban Decay, but there isn't much competition with that older makeup-minded customer that wants newness. That's That's a good point, honestly. You have all of these brands, these trendy brands that are coming out with like new colorful products all the time. My mom is not looking for that. My mom doesn't wear makeup in general, but people in my mom's generation are not always going for that. They're looking for staples. They're looking for things that can last them for years. Literally, the only piece of makeup that my mom had for the longest time was like a single Clinique blush that I'm pretty sure she bought when I was 12 years old, and that was probably over a decade old by the time she, I think, still had it. I don't know. It's old. But Laura Geller products kind of fit that market of people who are going to use makeup, but use the same products day in and day out. They're not going to branch out and need like 7 different foundations or 12 different neutral palettes. Like they just need the basics. They need highlighters, they need like basic eyeshadows, and they need complexion stuff and blush, and you're good to go, you know? So similar to a lot of brands that have kind of moved this direction in the last several years because of easeability and kind of SEO, they have little mini stores on Amazon. Am I happy about it? No. But Laura Geller has this little mini store on Amazon. It makes it super easy for older customers to just like one-click buy things, use Amazon Prime, blah, blah, blah. Again, that's the same kind of place where you have the over 40 crowd, if you will. That's what they call it. The over 40 customer buying makeup these days. They're not going into the store. They're not going into Ulta or Sephora as much. They're like, I buy one thing and I need to just rebuy it every so often. And I guess Julep also did stuff with Amazon as well. Amazon video and how-to content has been used with the intention to draw in new customers and reignite loyalists, which is interesting because I feel like they're moving away from the nail polish part of it. And the thing that brought people into Julep in the first place was the nail polish. Like that's what they started with. They closed all the salons in Seattle. They closed the kind of main headquarters. They completely downsized Julep from this once kind of like bigger company. Like I said, my roommate worked there, and downsized it. They got rid of the Maven program. They kind of just pared it down to bare bones and more basics, and are focusing on Target now, which honestly, that's a good move. That's a good move to focus on Target, because Target didn't actually get hit with the same kind of like mass closures during the pandemic, during like the beginning of the pandemic, the way that like beauty stores did or like mall stores did. So Target being more of like a one-stop shop kind of, not really a department store, but and it's not really a big box store either. Like, I don't really know what to compare Target to except Walmart, but like Target is so much better. Target, because it has groceries and because it has some essentials, they were able to stay open during the pandemic. So moving Julep from Ulta, which was not really opening for the first part of 2020, and the market was not in their favor in that instance, moving it to Target, it's a great idea. Like that's a great idea. You know, like that makes sense. And there's a lot of brands that are more like niche. I know Makeup Geek was inside Target. I don't know if it's still inside Target. Colored Rain was inside Target for a while. It might still be. Like that's kind of a cool thing to have an indie brand that's smaller, sometimes more expensive, but inside Target. Like Target has expanded their beauty section so much in the last decade, it's wild. The only thing that isn't there now that used to be there was like the Boots No. 7 section, and then Sonia Kashuk makeup, which I think I will talk about in another video about discontinued brands specifically, because Sonia Kashuk definitely used to have more makeup. Like they don't have makeup anymore, it's just brushes. It's just brushes and accessories. But Sonia Kashuk had makeup for a while, guys. I had one of their blushes for a really long time. It was a long time. That's fascinating. So honestly, looking at these companies, looking at Julep and Laura Geller, while they were not really keeping up with like the hip trendy things, they almost used that to their advantage, because it was like, we're going to file for bankruptcy. There's no point in trying to compete with these other brands that are trying to go for that millennial and Gen Z market, because it's so oversaturated. As much as I kind of harp on brands sometimes for being like old fashioned and they're boring, like there really is a market for that. Having platforms like Facebook to use, which again, not Gen Z and millennial friendly much anymore, because I don't trust Facebook with anything. I don't trust Facebook at all. But using those avenues that are more visited by like Gen Xers and boomers that use beauty products, it's definitely been an asset to them because there isn't as much competition. I don't know the internal final numbers of like how Laura Geller and Julep are doing now, but like they're still around, which says something because the parent brand filed for bankruptcy 4 years ago, and then the pandemic happened. So like they did something right. Whether everything that led up to the doing something right was the right thing, who knows? Because like I said, Better Business Bureau had some words to say about Julep. I do remember some interesting stories from my roommate that she would tell me dealing in customer service. And I did not envy her in the slightest at all. Yeah, I don't know, just looking into all of this like bankruptcy stuff and brands that have had to use it as a way to kind of stay afloat during the pandemic, it just got me thinking a lot about like how it all works, how capitalism works. Like it sucks, but it's interesting. It's awful most of the time, but it's fascinating, nuanced, and interesting. This was probably kind of scattered, but like I just had a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that kind of all tied into all of these brands in a way, but not like specifically each one, because Laura Geller and Julep were owned by the same parent company, kind of both of those things applied to them. So I will get into more like strictly discontinued brands, but because of the BH thing, I wanted to kind of dig more into like maybe what happens after brands file for bankruptcy. Do they make it work, or do they just like cut their losses? I don't know. Becca decided to put their 2 most popular products with Smashbox. Like that's a choice. I talked about that in another video. Check it out in a card. It was weird. It was weird. I will link articles and other videos that maybe go more in depth about the BH situation because it's very recent. I will link those below because I watched several, but like I said, I didn't want to like just like jack people's content. I just wanted to kind of talk about like what do brands do after bankruptcy in broad terms, you know? For today's song of the day, let's see. What have I been listening to? Ooh, actually, today's song of the day is, 23 from Jimmy Eat World. It is off their record Futures. I felt like going down an emo rabbit hole today. Sometimes you just want to go down the emo rabbit hole. And Jimmy Eat World was like criminally underrated. Libby also agrees. We literally had a conversation the other day about how she was like, you know who was really underrated? Jimmy Eat World. Like she just randomly brought it up out of the blue. So yeah, 23 from Jimmy Eat World is your song of the day. Give this video a like if you did like it, and then subscribe if you would like to see more of me. I upload normally Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So subscribe if you want to see me Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then Saturdays or Sundays, I stream on Twitch, play The Sims, of various games. It's all Sims 4. I still need to get The Sims 3. Eventually, I will get The Sims 3 and we will play it and it'll be awesome and it'll be weird, but I'm gonna love it. For sure, check out all the links that I have provided down below because there's a lot more in-depth information, especially about the BH thing, and then articles as well, because I wanted to cite my sources. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're having a good week. It is Friday. We've made it. Check me out on Twitch this weekend. I will let people know as soon as I'm live on Twitter. So check me out there. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at both Abers07, and then Twitch is Abers without the 07, so you can follow me there as well. Have a good weekend, everyone. I hope you are staying well rested. I hope you are staying hydrated. Have a good one, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye!